I season heavily. I definitely season heavily. I know people have salt tooths or sweet tooths. Is that a thing? Salt tooth? Salt tooth? A salty tooth? I have a salty tooth.
Hi, my name is Lex. I am a senior staff editor at NYT Cooking. You might know me by my byline, Alexa Weibel. And today I'm going to make my pickle-brined fried chicken sandwich for you. It's a pretty classic fried chicken sandwich, but it's got verve from pickles used two ways. I use pickle brine to moisten and tenderize and season the chicken. And then I also use pickles in the coleslaw. It's juicy, it's crunchy, it's salty, it's super delicious and super moist. And the pickle brine is all to thank for that.
All right, so I'm gonna show you how to marinate your chicken thighs. You're gonna start with 4 boneless, skinless chicken thighs. They'll generally be about 4 ounces each naturally, so you shouldn't have to trim them or do anything. The brine is just a great way to make sure that your chicken stays moist. It's gonna do a few things. It's going to moisten your chicken, it's gonna tenderize your chicken. It's super easy to double. In fact, should I do it? I'm gonna do it right now so that everyone can eat some. Not struggling to use tongs here at all. It's not awkward. It's not awkward. Because I doubled my chicken, I'm gonna add another ½ cup of the brine. I'm gonna go crazy here and I'm using half bread and butter pickle juice and half dill pickle juice. I'm definitely a bread and butter person. I feel like a lot of it comes down to what your personal preference is. I feel like it tastes a little bit sweeter, but also nostalgia. Like that's what I was raised eating for the most part. Those are the pickles that were in our fridge, so that's kind of what I vacillate toward. All right, so I'm now going to refrigerate it. Mayo, all right, I'm gonna make the pickle mayo. It's super easy. All right, so we've got ½ cup of mayo. We've got about 8 pickle coins. I'm gonna chop them. If you have whole pickles in your fridge, you can use those too. It's really just a matter of chopping up probably a few tablespoons worth. 4 teaspoons capers, chopped. And then I'm gonna season liberally with salt and pepper. Our pickle mayo is going to go on the base of the sandwich just to add a little moisture. And then it's also going in the coleslaw, adding seasoning to the cabbage. And I know sometimes people react to amounts of salt in recipes, specifically perhaps my recipes. I definitely like things quite salty. I think what home cooks don't realize is that restaurant cooks are just seasoning things so that they can taste as delicious as possible. And I think that's really what differentiates restaurant cooking from home cooking. So I'm gonna refrigerate this while we prep the chicken. All right, so now we're gonna set up our breading for the chicken. I've got 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk, which will basically be used to adhere the flour mixture. I'm gonna use 1 cup flour. I've got a 1/4 cup cornstarch. Cornstarch is gonna kind of give it a crunchier crust that shatters quite well. And the thing to remember is you wanna just season every single component at every stage, pretty much. So the chicken's being seasoned by the brine, we've got buttermilk, and then we've got a seasoned flour mixture that's gonna form the breading, the crust. All right, so I'm gonna add about 2 inches of oil to cook the chicken. I'm gonna be cooking it at about 325 degrees, which is a relatively low temperature for frying, but it works really well with the thighs. You want the crust to cook through at the same rate as the chicken. So if you do it at too high of a temperature, your crust is gonna burn before your chicken cooks through. And then if you do it too low, your crust is gonna absorb too much oil, it's not gonna get crunchy, it's not gonna get on that nice, like, deep golden color. All right, so now I'm gonna show you how to bread your chicken. I'm using chicken that I brined 24 hours ago. You can see it's kind of taken on a bit of a funky color from the pickle brine, but that's fine. You're not gonna see it in the end result. When you're breading chicken or anything else, you kind of wanna keep one hand for the wet ingredients and one hand for the dry ingredients. So I'm gonna turn my chicken to coat over here. I'm gonna let the excess buttermilk drip off. If you have too much excess liquid on it, the flour mixture is not gonna be able to adhere properly. So once you've coated it and dripped off the excess, you're gonna put it in the flour mixture, and then you're gonna use your dry hand to kind of toss the flour on top. And then don't be afraid to pat on extra flour as needed on top, just to kind of make sure that you're getting breading in every single nook and cranny. There we go. So then, kind of shake off the excess and then just set it on a plate. And then I will do that with the remaining 3. Concentrating really hard on not getting flour on my black top. I want high fives after if I manage. All right, so we're gonna fry off our chicken. I think a lot of home cooks can be intimidated by the process of deep frying, but it's actually quite easy. I feel like a good thing to remember is that you control the oil. The oil's not in charge, you are. So as long as you are not afraid of the oil and you're getting your chicken close enough to the oil before you add it, it's not gonna sputter up too much. I'm adding it gently. I'm getting pretty close to the pan, as you can see. I'm also intentionally using a kind of deeper pot as opposed to just a skillet because that'll retain the oil. When I was in culinary school, I assisted Jean-Georges van Gurchten teaching a bunch of home cooks how to fry chicken. And it was really terrifying because the people who had not deep fried before were just afraid of the oil. So they were like backing up and kind of tossing chicken in, which is the worst thing that you want to do. Just don't be afraid of the oil, get close and it won't splash up at you. So essentially when you pull your fried chicken, you want to make sure that the color is golden but not too dark, because when you pull it out of the oil, it's going to continue cooking. Not fearing the oil, there we go. You really want to pay attention to the temperature of your oil. When you add the chicken, you want it to be at about 325. Again, if the temperature is too high, the crust is going to burn, and if the temperature is too low, the crust is just going to absorb too much oil and fall apart. Okay, so I've cooked my chicken for about 6 minutes. The crust is golden. I'm going to take it out of the oil. It's going to take on a little more color after it sits. Check the temperature. You want it to be at least 165 degrees in a thicker area. Season it with salt and pepper. All right, so my chicken is cooked. My coleslaw is almost prepped. I'm gonna toast my buns. Adding butter to your bun is definitely gilding the lily here because you have so much moisture in the chicken, in the coleslaw, in your pickle mayo. But you know, it's a fried chicken sandwich. You can live a little. While these toast, I'm gonna just stir together the coleslaw. You're gonna take about half of your pickle mayo, toss it in with your coleslaw. All right, so I'm gonna season this generously with salt and pepper. Do I wish I had used a fork on camera here? Yes, probably. I'm gonna add a little bit of pickle mayo. So I've got my toasted bun, I've got a layer of the pickle mayo underneath, I've got my fried chicken, red onion, which adds like a nice sharpness to it, pickles, and then my coleslaw. I'm gonna do a little bit of hot sauce on top. You can use whatever hot sauce you favor. I like a little heat. I like bold flavors. I'm not afraid of not having any subtlety. All right, here we go. I hope you can hear the crunch of my crust shattering, which is very satisfying. All right, I'm going in for another bite. I think the right fried chicken sandwich has a bit of everything. It's got earthiness from the onion, it's got saltiness from most elements of it, it's got creamy tanginess from the coleslaw, it's juicy. You don't want to use a bun that kind of takes away from your sandwich. You just want to kind of smush it in. It's not massively pickly, but it really adds just kind of like tanginess, umami. So you have saltiness and sweetness and tanginess and creaminess and crunch. I think it's the whole package. It's delicious.